guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kayla, and if you're not new, thanks for coming back. I like to do a lot of makeup videos and book reviews and lifestyle videos as well on my channel, so sorry that I look like this. I'm pre-filming this very far in advance. We're still in quarantine. It's May right now. But I wanted to write or make this video before I forgot about the book we're going to talk about. So, but I woke up this morning, actually last night I started feeling kind of sick, so bear with me. Hopefully it's not the Rona, we'll see. But today we're talking about a book that comes out today and I'm very excited about. I got this arc maybe like 3 months ago. I got it like March. But we're talking about Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. I got this book from, well, one of my managers brought the arc home for me back to the store. They said they had heard about it in like an expo that shared books that are coming out and going to be popular, and that the concept of this book was crazy. So he thought I was going to love it. I love fairy tale retellings. That's most of the videos that I review on this channel. Most of the books that I read in my free time are me reviewing fairy tale retellings. So this is a twist on the classic Cinderella fairy tale. So the title kind of threw me off because I thought it was like taking place during Cinderella's time, but it's actually not. It is 200 years after Cinderella has died, and it kind of talks about the society Cinderella and her fairy tale left behind, and kind of the impact that fairy tale had on society. So in this land called Marseille, there is a ball every year hosted by the king, and all women from 18, I think it's 18, it might even be younger, it could be like 16, on are required to attend. They have 3 chances at the ball, so they can go 3 consecutive years, and if they don't find a husband by the end of the 3rd ball, they basically are forfeited as slaves. But basically the purpose of this ball is for men to pick wives. Basically they can pay to put a claim on someone they want as their wife, and the woman basically has no say. But Sophia is gay. She likes her best friend Erin, who will not run away with her as much as she tries, because Sophia just does not want to exist in the society anymore. Basically it's all about the patriarchy. Like, men can do whatever they want to their wives, they can abuse them, they can take all of their money that they've earned. Awfulness. So in this book, Sophia basically runs away from the ball, and she is trying so hard to get away because she's so sick of all of this garbage that she really wants to kind of, she's so frustrated with what's going on in Marseille specifically in her town of, I think it's Lille or Lily, Lille, someone let me know, that she plans to run away and plot to kill the king, or at least dethrone him. So she ends up running away from the ball, which is like a deathable offense, if you will. And she ends up running away, and she finds Cinderella's tomb, and no one's seen Cinderella's tomb in years. And she realizes that people go there kind of as a meeting place when they're trying to escape. And she meets someone in the tomb. They sneak up on her, and it's this girl Constance, and Constance is the great 7 times great granddaughter of Cinderella's stepsister Gabrielle. And basically they meet up the next day to run away, and they go to Cinderella's childhood home. I'm trying not to be too in-depth, but Constance basically tells Sophia that the whole Cinderella legend is a lie. The whole fairy tale that this whole society is based off of is a lie. And there's Cinderella died 200 years before. She's very young. She's maybe 32 when she died. And it was from a very mysterious illness. No one really saw her for the last couple years of her life. And yeah, so the whole fairy tale is a lie, and one of the main parts of this fairy tale is that the fairy godmother was not actually a fairy godmother, but a witch. So they kind of seek out the witch to see if there is any way that she knows to bring down the king. there are so many twists and turns in this book. There's a lot of very interesting magic. It's not just kind of like wave a sparkly wand and things happen. Like there's a lot of almost like black magic or like voodoo magic. Like they try scrying. They look like they charge rose quartz. Like they try necromancy. Like they actually bring Cinderella back from the dead. And all of this stuff going on. So there's so many cool twists, but that magic system was really cool to see, the very intentional way. And it's also very realistic because they had to collect very specific herbs. There's a grimoire, which was made out of like human skin. Like all of this very like, almost, it feels like tangible magic. Collecting herbs under the moon phases and things like that, which was really cool to see. But along their way, Constance and Sophia end up falling in love, but it's kind of a very complicated relationship to navigate because Sophia is still not really over Erin, feels guilty kind of feeling those feelings for someone other than Erin, even though Erin is a dingus and basically breaks Sophia's heart 8 times, and I want to die. But they end up falling in love. It's a very sweet, sweet story of their love and how they kind of are this like badass couple that wants to take on the patriarchy. The world building was really, really thorough. There were like entire customs and traditions built around the Cinderella fairy tale. The setting was really cool. It didn't have a map. A little disappointed about that because there is several different settings. There's different towns. There's the Forbidden City, which we don't ever really see, but is important to the structure of the story. Also, the Forbidden Forest is where most of the adventure takes place. So it'd be nice to see like really how far they're traveling, kind of the layout of the land. I don't know. Those things, reading books like this help me. But the settings are really cool. Mersai and Lil and the way their society works is really well thought out and developed. It sucks and it's awful and I would never want it to be a thing, but the particulars of that society being worked out are very, very specific, and clearly a lot of effort was put into planning this book, especially the way the plot twists and the intricacies of how the fairy tale is changed come together so neatly that Kalynn Bayron had to do so much planning. Like I don't want to spoil things, but like for the way Cinderella to have died and for the way this king to have ascended the throne, like are all very specifically, and I'm not explaining this well, but there are so many different threads that come together to create this story. And there are so many ways that this could have slipped up that like it just wouldn't have made sense, and everything makes sense at the end. Like by the end, you know everything that's happened. I believe this is a standalone too, so everything wrapped up super nicely. I will say it was a little bit of a slow start for me. I think there are maybe 8 chapters before they actually get to the ball. Yes. So there's about 100 pages before they actually get to the ball, which is important to set the scene, to give everyone a good perspective of how awful this society is and why it needs to change. But it was a little bit like slow for me to get through that first 100 pages. But then once I got to the ball and once I met Constance, once you meet Constance in the tomb of Cinderella, the whole thing just like explodes. And then I read it. I read the first 100 pages in the course of about a week. And then the last 200 pages I read in like a day and a half. So a little bit of a slow beginning, but definitely builds up. The writing is beautiful. It's definitely one of those books where the author's voice comes out a lot. Like there are just phrases or sentences that are very much like the author staking their claim or making their opinion known, which sometimes are a little too bold in books, but I think in these ones, for the most part, they are pretty smooth. They fit in perfectly into the context of what's going on. It's not just like a random, oh, we're walking in the woods and I'm gonna have this really deep thought. Like it is fitting for whatever is going on in the book. I thought this was a really unique concept. I've read a ton of Cinderella retellings, but I've never read one so like thoroughly entrenched in a separate society or magic system that was so intricate and well designed and well thought out that I was super impressed with this book, especially because it was so hyped at this conference. I was not sure if it would live up to the hype. I like, just looking at it, I thought it was more of just, you know, this girl doesn't want to go to the ball because she's queer and that's going to be it. And I didn't really expect Sophia to be kind of the fiery character that she was. She really does stand up for herself and what she believes in, and she's also driven. Like, so many people tell her not to keep doing what she's doing and not try and change things because it's not going to ever work, and she sticks to her guns and makes it happen. So I thought that was really, really cool. So I thought this was definitely an interesting twist on the tale, a different take. I can tell that there's a lot of effort and thought put into this book because the story is so intricately woven that, like, you had Kalynn Bayron definitely had to be careful, and I think she did an amazing job executing this idea. I really want to know how she came up with it because this is a really cool idea. I think the title might be a little bit misleading, but it all makes sense once you start reading and once you get to that like 100-page mark. It all makes sense. It all starts to make sense. It doesn't all make sense right away. And when I tell you that there are twists up until the last 30 or so pages, they're like, after that 100-page mark, that first like third of the book, there are like twists everywhere, and you're discovering things and you're like, what is like happening? It like made me almost like doubt the Cinderella fairy tale. Like, it was kind of crazy, but the writing was beautiful, world so cool, society awful, but well structured, like thoroughly structured. Magic system, super interesting, very unique retelling concept. I've read so many retellings and I don't think I've ever read one so intricately thought out. And what I kind of liked was that it's a Cinderella retelling, but it's not about Cinderella. Like, Cinderella isn't the main character. And I kind of felt like that when I read Stepsister by Jennifer Donnelly last year. That was a Cinderella retelling about the stepsister. It wasn't about Cinderella really at all. And I feel like we're starting to get more of those, but Cinderella was such a far removed part of this that, like, she, like, as a person, like, Cinderella and what she stood for in the fairy tale is very much at the forefront of the whole book. But Cinderella as a person and as a character is really, really not existent. I think she's actually in the book for like maybe 10 pages. That's about it. Oh, I had recommended this to one of my friends, Julia, who loves the Cinderella fairy tale. And she was very worried that it would be like, this is the effect that story has on society. And there is definitely a little bit of that, but it's more like it's not necessarily what the effect a story has on society as much as it is what the government or what the leading body says affects society and the lasting impact that has and the precedent that sets. So if you have a kind of a schmuck in like governing body, and they're setting precedents and kind of leading society in a poor direction, that's going to continue and affect so many people. So it's not even necessarily how much a story affects society as it is the government and people in government and people in the governing body and how much influence they have on a society. Because Cinderella was dead for 200 years, and 200 years of girls were forced to kind of go through this, and then it kind of just devolved into a society where women could be abused and used as much as men wanted. And they really had no say, no respect, no authority, no independence. There were like curfews set for women, so I think that was a really powerful message. certainly more important than the Cinderella fairy tale. And it was done and conveyed in a very artistic way. It wasn't very in your face and blatant, I don't think, in the fact that I would be like, or someone would read it and think like, oh, that's what you're like. It's very much, it makes you think about society and how, like, the trust we put in government and the people we put in government. So that I think was really interesting, and I think it would be very cool for young girls to read, and to especially have a main character like Sophia that doesn't take no for an answer and doesn't let, you know, people tell her to stop or give up on what she believes in or what she thinks is right. She also is very resourceful and very, like, willing to put herself out there to almost, like, sacrifice herself for the greater good. Like, she doesn't really care if she ends up getting hurt, as long as she can still help people. And I think she was one of the most well-developed characters I've seen. She had such a great sequence of thought, if that makes sense. Like, she very much was an empathetic person, and that was conveyed in her actions, her words, her thoughts, her beliefs. She like would say that she would want equality for women, and like obviously stand by that. Like, she would try and make that happen, or she might not get to free one person from a jail cell, and she would carry that guilt with her. She was just a very conscious character, and I feel like that made me want to root for her more, made me believe in her. Yeah, and I was definitely along for the ride with her and in support of her throughout it. So I think in all of those areas, so in the message, the concept, the writing, the world building, the character, the magic system, like A+ for all of them. Like, Kalynn Bayron did so good. This was such a good read. And it made me want to read fantasy court books again, because we all know that's what I love. But also it felt like I was getting those two favorite genres that I love, which is like fantasy court novels, like pseudo-medieval kind of things, and then also fairy tale retellings, kind of all merged into one book. So if you're looking for a book that's super about Cinderella or from Cinderella's point of view, this isn't that book, but it is still a really good read. It surprised me a lot. I honestly did not expect this to be as intricate or as well done as it was, but it really was so thoroughly done, and I was so impressed with this. Yeah, I don't know, I really liked it. It was a good first read of summer break. So if I had to rate this book, I'd probably give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think it was actually really well done, thorough. There's not anything like major problems that I had with it. I just don't think it's a total 5-star read, but 4.5 I think is definitely a really good score. Especially, I think this is her debut novel, but I'm not positive. She grew up in Alaska, Kalynn Bayron, which I think is really cool. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So that book comes out today, July 7th. I think they haven't moved the release date for it, but July 7th, make sure you go check it out. Support your local indie. Definitely let me know if you're thinking of reading this, or if you have any questions about the book, and I'll do my best to answer them in the comments down below. We haven't had a book review in a little while, I feel like. So I like to kind of mix these in there for you guys. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys. And make sure you like this video and subscribe before you leave. If there's anything that you are reading that you think I should be reading and reviewing, let me know in the comments as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.